Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for the Cuckoo's Fiancé, Chapter 89. When we last left our heroes, Nagi and Erika, specifically Erika, went to investigate the arm that fell out of the room service cart to find it was severed and filled with fake blood, I suppose, because it was I doing a prank. And so Erika, fake passed out. We found out later she woke up much earlier than she pretended to. But I tries to run away with Nagi. Nagi insists that he has to stay, as he's learned through the elopement arc. He can't just run away from his problems anymore. So he tells Ai that he has to stay. He's learned that from Erika. And Ai decides to declare that makes what he feels towards Erika familial love. And not romantic love, because with Ai, he starts to blush and his heart's aflutter or whatever. Ai is again very sort of domineering towards, sort of prescribes Nagi's feelings to him rather than lets him actually have his own feelings. But Erika then wakes up. There's this bit where Ai declares that romantic love is whose panties you want to see, which is a lot. But then Erika wakes up, sort of puts a stop to that nonsense, but decides she finally has to kind of confront Ai herself. And that's where we leave off. Let's dive right on into Chapter 89. We have here, before that, we have the Scanlator page. We have one of the new key visuals for Nagi and Sachi for the anime coming out next year. We have another collab video, or collab picture. There was one a while back of Erika and someone in Overlord, I think. And here we have Erika and Reina in Higurashi swapping costumes, which honestly, it kind of fits both of them. Not gonna lie, it fits both their person. The outfit swap really works for them. Just saying. Anyway, 89th foul. After all, it's our own way to pave. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that's an Erika line, rebutting Ai's sort of insistence that she knows best. Our picture here, though, is of Ai in a forest or some kind of tree area. It looks kind of autumnal with the leaves falling down. Ai-chan barges into the hotel. The tension is high with her rival in love, Erika the fiancé. And we open right where we left off with sparks literally flying as Erika and Ai lock eyes. Nagi gets in the middle of them. And Nagi just tries to go away. Well, I'll just head to the bath. And both of them turn to glare at Nagi. You're not going anywhere. I'm not. And he starts to panic. My fiance and childhood friend are fighting and out of control. I don't know what's going on with these fonts here, but they're fun. They're pretty fun there. Anyway, I then sort of begins this confrontation. Well then, I'll get straight to the point. You're engaged to Nagi-chan. Please end it now. And Erika sighs. If we could do that, we already would have by now. But this is a problem between our families. And Ai sort of counters, is that really the case here? And Erika looks at her. You stopped thinking about it. Don't you think you've become too obedient to your parents? And Erika's sort of taken aback. Of course not. The reason I'm living with Nagi-kun is because I wanted to become independent. I think that compared to before I met Nagi-kun, I'm practically a different person. And Nagi sort of is questioning a different person. But Ai goes on, well then, if we put your relationship as fiancés aside, what does your relationship then become? And Erika sort of thinks for a minute before shocked responding, nothing at all. Though I do want to stop here, point out Ai doesn't know shit about Erika. They've had one scene together in the darts game. And Ai, as is very typical for Ai, has sort of come in and declared that she knows everything about everyone. And of course, all the answers leads to her ending up with Nagi because that's how she sees the world. But I don't know. I feel like Erika, though, seems to maybe be sort of falling into Ai's trap in this last bit. Let's see where it goes. Nothing at all. And Ai sort of takes that as a victory. We see that sort of small smile, and Erika thinks, hold up, it really is nothing at all. Our values and our lifestyles are completely different. I mean, we're basically strangers. I've been living with someone like this entire time? Yeah, she's sort of fallen right into Ai's trap, because I don't think that's true. Especially that we're basically strangers. After months of living in a house with a person, you're not strangers anymore. But Nagi also seems to agree. Okay. Because Nagi thinks she's just noticing this now. And I, again, taking this as a victory. In other words, that is the full extent of your relationship. You are nothing more than fiancés. And Erika agrees. Nagi notes it as being smug. I can't deny that. And Nagi questions, why is she acting so smug? And then continues, but even so, Amino-san's always been helping me. And then I squats down to get something from the part of the room service cart she was hiding. Or where she was hiding. With that being the case for you, I'm quite different in that regard. And Nagi looks at her kind of confused. And she pulls out this, chart that says Nagi-chan and Ai's 100 years of life goals. I guess they got pretty intense when they were, in their youth. Just looking at it, we can see, a house. We can see a baby bottle. Various cats. We see a skull. They plotted one of their deaths, and then it goes on another, quarter of the whole, chart. And Ai tells Erika, first, please have a look at this. I present to you a complete timeline of our next 100 years together. And just looking at it, the house bit says, age 18, Nagi and Ai married, we can't see all of it, lovey-dovey, life together until age 22. Age 23, have a baby, gender is female. They already decided that. Age 24, remodel our home. Age 50, all 3 children become independent, live happily together. Age 52, circumnavigate the world on a luxury cruise ship with a casino. Age 55, buy a plot of land in the countryside and start a farm. That is really detailed. And I'm going to take a guess that I maybe had a little bit more to do with this than Nagi did. That's because this is the sort of thing I would do, I think. And Nagi's just stunned. What? And I sort of turns to Nagi. By the way, I will be continuing my work even after getting married. Please do your best as a house husband, okay? That's a lot to just throw at Nagi's feet. But Nagi seems sort of considerate. Maybe in a lazy kind of way. House husband, huh? I've never even thought about it. Though again, we're seeing, over and over with Ai, her sort of insisting on her view, sort of bulldozing past anything that Nagi thinks. Nagi isn't given the chance to have his own career alongside of Ai's. It's just, I've decided I'm going to work and you're going to just be a house husband. It's a continuing trend with Ai. And it still hasn't really been addressed in a meaningful way. I don't know. But Erika just counters, there's so much wrong with that. I don't know where to start. And what's this at the end? And we see their second to last line is, live harmoniously together, surrounded by children and grandchildren. Age 100, go to heaven together, hand in hand, happy end. That's so cringe, it hurts. Also, that little drawing of Nagi and Ai. Oh no, I think I might have read it wrong in the original. I read it left to right. I think it's right to left, actually. So yeah, it is still there in the original page. Which means that skull is a lot earlier than I thought it was. That's interesting. I don't know. Anyway, I sort of attacks. What's that supposed to mean? And Erika goes on, I mean, it's just not realistic at all. Looking at it top to bottom, it's like you're just playing house. I'm glad someone's finally pushing back on Ai here. Because, yeah, it does sort of have the vibe of, 2 kids playing house. I do sort of agree there. But Nagi tries to calm the situation. All right, you two. And then Nagi thinks, but I really never thought that Ai-chan had thought so much about me. Oh, hold on! I thought this was something that they had done as children. The way that we saw, or how I had that vivid memory of Nagi complimenting her singing, or something in that vein that I clutched onto, and Nagi sort of forgot about. But no, it looks like this was all Ai. All single-handedly Ai. Again, she has no real respect for the autonomy of others, is sort of what I'm really getting out of Ai. Anyway, the two of them like sit down at that at that table by the window, and Erika sort of criticizes, starting from the very idea of it all. I just don't understand why you have everything writing on getting married. And Ai counters, of course you wouldn't understand. You've never even considered the prospect of marriage as a goal before. I, on the other hand, came back to Japan expressly to get married. So they are sort of there's this sort of sniping back and forth there. But also, like, given that Ai is, this successful singer, why is marriage as a concept her goal? Marriage to Nagi is one thing, but why is specifically marriage as a goal her sort of goal, given she is now a very famous songwriter? But anyway, Erika pushes back. That's not what I meant. And Ai looks at her kind of questioningly. And Erika sort of stares at her. There's this almost sort of sad look to her eyes. You can be happy if you get married. I'm saying that it's just wrong to be so fixated on that. So we're seeing sort of Erika kind of does cut to the chase on Ai here. That, yeah, on some level Ai has kind of been so caught up in marriage, but like, that doesn't make... Marriage is not the be-all, end-all of happiness, I think is what Erika's getting at here. And Ai's kind of taken aback and then is flustered. Is that wrong? And Erika presses, now who's the one who doesn't get it? I mean, that's how my family is. Mommy and Daddy are always so busy with work. They're always passing each other by. And since even my brother disappeared without a trace, I've always been all alone. You think that's what happiness looks like? And so she sort of goes on the attack there. Your whole marriage is the way to happiness is just kind of bullshit. But then Ai meets her where she is. I don't. My own family has been disbanded too. That's a peculiar word choice, disbanded. Like divorce, is that what she means? I don't know. But Erika reacts, you were worse off than me? Well, and Erika continues, because of that, I don't have any hopes when it comes to marriage. It doesn't necessarily make just anybody happy. And Nagi sort of thinks back to the Uminos. Compared to them, my family is so much happier. But Ai then goes on, in that case, allow me to adjust my point. In a marriage that only your family recognizes, do you think you can find happiness? Though again, that only your family recognizes, Ai sort of running roughshod over Erika's feelings. She assumes that this is all just because of the family, arranged engagement. But Erika's whole point earlier in this arc is that, like, she will decide who she marries. If that's Nagi, then it's Nagi. If it's not, then it's not. And so Ai's a little behind on the themes of this arc. And Erika snaps right back at you. There's no guarantee, even if you get married according to plan. And they're right back where they started, still kind of like butting heads. Nagi tries to get in the middle. All right. There's no end to all this talk about the future, is there? After all, it's our own way to pave. So it was actually Nagi's line, just sort of echoing the themes of this arc. But both Erika and Ai turn on him. Nagi-kun, Nagi-chan, shut up. And Nagi snaps, I'm sorry. Erika starts to like crack her knuckles. Let's decide this once and for all. There's this like thick miasma over the both of them as they just stare at each other. Ai counters, I already know how this ends. And Nagi tries to stop them again. Hello? And we see they're both in these like martial arts poses. This like dragon appears behind Erika, a tiger behind Ai. And they just start like grappling each other. And Nagi gets in the middle. Wait, no, girls, getting into a scuffle is a bit anything but a bloody tragedy in a locked room. No violence. Give me a break already. And then, all of a sudden, they're all hunky-dory. Somehow I feel like we're going to be good friends. Yeah, I have no idea where this sort of came from. Like, it's similar to what we saw with Sachi and Hiro way back when in concept, but like, I could see how those two characters would kind of grow. It would sort of grow to be close. They're both sort of have this sort of teasing relationship with Nagi, and so they sort of feed into that teasing. This just feels completely out of left field. I don't know what's going on there. But okay. And they like laugh. Totally stunning Nagi. Huh? And Erica just sighs. I'm feeling kind of thirsty now. We talked so much, didn't we? And I points out the room service cart. There's apple juice in here. Really? And Nagi's just so confused. What's going on? And Erica, as she opens her apple juice, somehow I was really ticked off at first, but everything Ai-chan said was exactly on point. Like, she sure has picked up on a lot. I think that's a little overly generous to Ai. Given that the last line that she really said to Erica before that was, in a marriage that only your family recognizes, do you think you can find happiness? Just sort of, given, like, I guess that sort of, you can twist what happened earlier in the arc to mesh with that theme. But the whole point, but what I is getting at beneath that line is, do you think you can find happiness with Nagi, is what she's asking. It's not quite what she says, but it's what she's asking beneath the question. And, Erica's whole point back, I think it was 85, was, I'll find, I'll whoever I marry won't be because my family recognizes it, it'll be because I will. And it feels like Erica doesn't really, like, I don't quite buy, for one thing, I don't quite buy anything Ai says, because Ai, again, never considers other people as having desires worth following if they run counter to hers. I think Ai is just sort of a deeply, deeply selfish character, which is fine if we're playing her as a selfish character. But when we're actually like, but then when Erica goes, oh, but actually she's kind of right, I don't think she really is in much of any way. But Ai's taken aback at that, and she smiles. I thought so too. Nobody's ever spoken to me so frankly and on even footing with me. You were the first, Erica-san. And Erica sort of thinks, is kind of like an Ai as well. How do I put this? It's like we were connected in a past life or something. I think they said that together. Because they're now completely buddy-buddy. It's just sort of a weird twist there. Nagi's just stunned. They're completely on the same wavelength. And Erica says, oh, right. There was something I wanted to ask you about. And Ai chimes in, I did too. And Nagi looks at them. I don't really get girls. In any case, I'm glad they're getting along with each other. I just read the next panel. So they're both sort of shocked and blushing. And they ask, or Erica says first, those panties are like so cute. Where'd you get them? And Ai picks up, the design of your panties is absolutely novel. From where did you purchase them? I do like the weirdness of Ai's speech patterns there. But they keep going on, but they're totally the same color. We really are birds of a feather. And Nagi sort of goes to the bath and thinks, what kind of panties are they wearing? Their discussion about the future is yet to be concluded. Next time, finally, an escape. Okay. I'm thinking about this chapter. Because generally, it seems to try to want to sort of smooth Ai over almost, but I'm not quite sure it really succeeds in any meaningful way. Like, I don't know. Ai seems to still just be running just as like roughshod over everyone's beliefs and values and characters that she has been, but then and still just as false and completely like selfish worldview that she's always had. But this time Erica's like, oh yeah, you're kind of right. I'm not really sure that she is on any level. If Ai is right on anything, I think it's largely a coincidence in that sometimes things do kind of work to the way she wants them to be, but I only sees the world in the way she wants to, is sort of her fatal flaw. Is that, like, if it's not quite set up to, if it's not set up to put her and Nagi together, then it's not true, it's not happening, it's a lie, it's Nagi tricking himself, it's Erika tricking herself. She's just got this very one-track mind, and it's very selfish. And to see, I mean, maybe we're not supposed to agree with Erika that everything Ai-chan said was exactly on point, but it still is really weird to all of a sudden, you know, we had all this sort of conflict as someone finally calls Ai to task. And then they're just, like, from that become buddy-buddies? I mean, conceptually, I like that concept. But I'm not quite sure I'm not quite sure it's earned here. It's maybe just a little bit too sudden? I don't know. I mean, like, I get the concept of from finally sort of having this conflict of just open and honest conflict, they start to understand each other, and from that understanding comes a friendship. That makes sense in my head. But there's something about the way it's presented here that doesn't quite work for me, and I can't quite explain why. I mean, I get sort of Ai's point. You know, nobody's ever spoken to me so frankly on an even footing with me. You were the first, Erika-san. I mean, we don't know enough about Ai to confirm or deny that, but I believe it. It's Erika's bit. She sure has picked up on a lot. I don't think that's true, is the thing. And maybe on some level, you know, Erika is still sort of pushing back on this. You know, she's still not quite ready to acknowledge her romantic feelings. I'm gonna dip back to 85 real quick. Find the moment where she has that line about who I marry will be who I marry. Let's see if I can find it. If MangaDex would load. Yeah, the future we share, whether I fall in love with you, all of it will be my choice. So I think we can, looking at that line, connect it here as she's just sort of, you know, she's not at the point where she's acknowledging her feelings as genuinely romantic. And so, you know, if the question I'm having right now actually is how much Erika heard. We don't know how far Erika was awake for last chapter. Did she hear Ai's that's not familial love, that's not romantic love, it's familial? And is that what she's agreeing with? Because she might not quite be ready to acknowledge her own romantic feelings. You know, I think last time we really checked in on Erika's feelings, she sort of was confused by her affection for Nagi, right? This was around the beginning of, shortly after Ai appeared, right? And so maybe on some level she sees that declaration that her feelings are familial is kind of an out, maybe? I don't know. I'm trying to justify this in my head because it barely makes sense. I just don't know. It's just a weird choice. I'm not quite sure I'm on board with the end of this chapter. I don't know. I'll have to see how all of this plays out. And then we have that last panty gag. It's just sort of there. Also, did they, like, strip in the middle of the room once Nagi left? Because, like, unless, like, the only reason we didn't see either their underwear was just because of the specific camera angles, they shouldn't have been able to see each other's underwear, at all. It's, like, covered by their clothing, right? I don't know, it's just a weird bit. It's just a weird little gag. I don't know, it's just sort of strange, I think. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to feel about this chapter just yet. We'll sort of see how all of this plays off as Ai continues to be in the story, I think. But for now, I just don't know. I just don't know. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video up here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes it happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!